Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to our review of Cuphead again. Now, if you are a veteran of the channel, then you know that technically speaking, we've already done Cuphead. But if you're also upstute, then you might have noticed that the Cuphead video, as well as the Undertale one and the Secured Reach one, those all got deleted from the channel. They're gone. You will never see them ever again. And that's because I figured it was sort of necessary to sort of revamp those ones specifically because, first of all, they're almost all hour long, and when I'm trying to review something, or when I'm trying to like get a review from someone to see if I want the game or not, I don't want to deal with the whole like, oh, gotta watch this for an hour to figure out if it's good or not, because that's stupid. That's why I try to minimize the length of these, and also by deleting the Secured Reach one, the Undertale, and Cuphead one, we actually are able to have Faz be the first game we technically reviewed in the review series, which is kind of poetic because Faz is the first game that was on the channel. So it all lines up in the end anyway, but we're going to be re-reviewing Cuphead, and I believe Isabel was not there for the Cuphead review initially. I don't think she was there for Secured Reach either, so she's going to be there for because she's in all of them anyway, she's going to be in these ones obviously as well. So, but moving on to the company/creator. And the company/creator of this one is Studio MDHR. I don't know if MDHR stands for anything, but either way, they've been working on this game for, well, now it's out, but before it came out, they were working on the game for like 5 years or something. It was a long time that was in the original thing. 'Cause I think it originally was supposed to just be a boss rush, and then people were like, "Oh, this is really cool. I wish there was more to it," and then they added more to it. So yeah, Studio MDHR. Obviously they've made like the Cuphead TV show. I think there's a TV show now, but as far as I'm aware, they've really only just made Cuphead. But I'm gonna be very interested to see what the next thing that they make is, because I don't presume they're gonna make a Cuphead 2, because they made the Delicious Last Course. So I don't imagine them I don't think they're gonna make a Cuphead 2. Moving on to what is done well. The music in this game is pretty stellar. We'll get to the music section later, but the music is pretty stellar in the game. The art style, of course, is really cool. Like the whole like vintage, like old style game is really cool.
So like cartoons back in the day with all like the rubber hose animation.
The mechanics of the game are really cool. A lot of the bosses like have really cool designs, and they all have different mechanics. So each time you get into a boss fight, it's gonna have a different mechanic than the previous boss you just fought. So that's what's really cool about that. And so that's really fun. And the whole like the story is pretty interesting, because it's like the two brothers get like into a gambling frenzy, and then the devil comes out and be like, "Oh boy, if you roll snake eyes, you're dead." And guess what they roll? And then they have to go out and collect the debtors. But I think at the end of the game, you end up fighting the devil. I mean, there's two choices at the game, but if you pick the right choice, you defeat the devil, and everyone lives in prosperity again. So it's a bit of a like cliche ending, but I think it's meant to be a cliche ending because it's told in a storybook, and storybooks always have like a happy ending. But there is the cool secret ending. It's not really a secret. There's the cool other ending where if you accept the devil's deal, like you turn into a demonic cup or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty done well. And there's a good majority of things that are done well. The only things that we're gonna complain about in a second is just like a lot of the running guns were interesting. The first running gun though was great, and I think I forgot what it's called, but the funfair one, or the carnival one, that was really cool. So yeah, a lot of the mechanics are done well, and I think the shop, the way they did the attacks are done well, because you start with the basic one, but you can go at the shop and buy some more, and there's so many different ones to choose from, and you have a secondary one as well, so you can kind of mix and match for your own personal playstyle. Me personally, I had the chaser because I liked to kind of dodge and just shoot non-stop, and then I think I'd roundabout. I think my second one changed throughout the series, but I think I'd roundabout here. I think I tried the charge thing at some point. But either way, it depends on the playstyle you want. Some people prefer to have like the shotgun, the spread shotgun thing, as well as roundabout, or some people like to have the chaser and the charge one. It all depends on the playstyle that you have. So I think that's really done well.
Then you have things like charms, where you get to just add crap to it. And everyone would just go with, smoke dash all the time. But there's also coffee. So
I went with coffee a lot because you got 2 extra hit points. But that wasn't coffee. That was the 2 heart thing, whatever that was called. Yeah, but you got 2 extra hearts.
Yeah, coffee get raised with hearts. You get to do more special attacks.
Either way, essentially, there's a lot of all the different shop items can fit your personal playstyle, which is really cool. But moving on to what could be improved. I think a lot of the run and guns kind of fell short. The water one, yeah, that one was really dumb and just kind of hard for the sake of being hard. I didn't really like the second one either, really. That was kind of meh as well. A lot of the ones in the area 2 were kind of boring as well. I think the circus one is in area 2, but every other one.
One's in area 2, and then there's like the other.
All the area 3 ones I didn't like. I think that was the main thing I was going for.
It was pretty bad for running guns. One of them was really boring. The other one, the pier one, that one was probably my worst nightmare in that game.
And the chalice sections, the mausoleums were pretty cool, but they were kind of too short for me. I mean, I wanted, because you get a super out of them, so I'd expect them to be harder and also longer, but they were nor hard nor long. So that was kind of a disappointment. But I mean, yeah, I think they could have just had more enemies coming at you for that. So I don't see why they couldn't have done that. There was a couple bosses that had a bit of baloney mechanics. If I recall, a lot of the things that I don't like in boss related games is when the attacks are random, like just pure randomness. You don't so that way you can't learn them. And if I recall, the pyramid guy had him on the plane level. Bon had him. Basically, what I mean by this is the first attack that comes out can either be this, or this. I don't like that because that doesn't allow me to learn the attacks anymore. Because I'm like, oh well, let's say I learned the first one. It's like, okay, I know how to avoid the first one. He throws me the second one, I die immediately. It's like, great, I'm glad I learned the first one for no reason. Then I learned the second one, and I can sort of forget the first one a little bit. Then he throws me the third one. It's like, okay,
and then
fabulous.
You're back to the first one. It's like, oh well, great.
Eventually, you get used to all of them, but it takes way longer. You have a lot of unnecessary deaths than you would have otherwise. So that I don't like at all. There's a couple bosses that had, like I said, the sand guy, Bon. I think there was a person in the area 3 that had it. There's just a lot of baloney with that. I don't appreciate that at all. I mean, that's more a personal thing, but still, it's kind of dumb because it doesn't allow me to learn the mechanics. Yeah, so that could have been done. That could have been way better. Again, like I said, the run and guns just weren't that. The ones in area 3 just weren't that fun. Area 1 had one I didn't like, and then Area 2 had the carnival, and then the other one I didn't like either. So a lot of the run and guns are just kind of like, yeah, we really only did them to get the coins, because the coins are more important to actually defeating the bosses.
Pretty much.
Also, I noticed there was a couple plane levels, but there wasn't a lot of them. There's 4, I think, or maybe 5 if you count the secret one you can get to. But either way, I don't know. It's one of those things that I think there could have been more plane levels. I like the plane, and I also think they could have had more upgrades to the plane, because they just gave you the bomb thing at one point. But I wish there were you could have different. I wish there was a separate shop for plane upgrades instead of just the Cuphead upgrades. I think that would have been sick, but they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know they probably wanted to just get the game out because it had been 5 years since they announced it or whatever. So I can see why they probably didn't add certain things, but that would be one of the things that would have been cooler. Yeah, that's mostly all I can say about that. There's just a couple of things there. Moving on to any problems or glitches. I don't recall any. And a lot of the things that people might count as glitches are really secrets. Like, for example, if you don't shoot the onion, he gives you a little special secret thing. That's intended. That's not a glitch or anything. So a lot of the things that people might think are glitches are actually just secrets or Easter eggs in the game. So maybe the first day it came out, I'm sure there might have been some, but as in the core game now, I don't believe there is.
Yeah, there are a couple that are used for some stuff, especially for speedruns, like Mugman Army. I'm sure a lot of people know about that one, even though it's banned in most speedruns. You get to there's no real glitches that hinder the gameplay, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Moving on to controls. So this game I think this is one of those games that's meant for controller. I'm sure PC players are fine, but we played this game on controller, and there's still a lot of buttons that are the set they give you is awful. To me, as a gamer myself, it's awful. So but you can change your keybinds and/or controls. So the controls can be whatever the heck you want them to be. This is one of those games that allow you to change them to anything you want. If you have because we played on the Switch, so if you want your attack button to be the left stick for some reason, sure, go ahead, do that. If you want your dash to be Y, then sure. It doesn't matter what you want because you can change it. So there's not much to say about the controls because you can choose whatever you want. But PC players, you can change your keybinds. I'm assuming you have to use a lot more keys though, so I don't know how well that's going to work for you. But moving on to graphics. The graphics for this game are great because it's like again, I mentioned earlier, it's like an old style cartoon, which is very well done, and it sort of gives off like old style Disney vibes almost as well. So yeah, very well done in terms of art style. They did a great job. A lot of the stuff is really cool looking. I watched a video where someone went over like the mistakes, like animating mistakes, but I don't really care too much about those. If you're an ordinary gamer, you don't really care too much about those. But if you're a animator enthusiast, then you might see them. But aside from that, it's almost flawless graphics there. And obviously they're not like crystal like Far Cry graphics, but that's because they're not meant to be. It's meant to be a cartoon. So yeah. But moving on to music/sound. Now the music in this game is pretty good. They have a lot of different tracks that's really cool. Even like the Idol song is really cool. There's the shop song. There's if you get the barbershop quartet back together, they sing you a song. So there's a lot of good music tracks in this game. That is really well done. And the sound effects are also really good too, because every time you shoot something, every time someone else shoots something at you, there's different sound effects. So all the different sound effects are really well done in this game. So yeah, not much to say about that, just because it's pretty well done. I don't really have any faults with that. So moving on to story and characters. So the story of the game is Cuphead and Mugman went to the casino and decided to bet it all on black and lost. And the devil's like, "Ha, screw you, give me your souls, buddy." And they pleaded for their life, and then Bill's like, "Fine, go give me everyone else's soul then." So that's why you go on this whole journey to essentially get everyone's soul contract. And then towards the end of the game, you finally reach Mr. King Dice and then the devil, depending on how you play the game. You can also play the game either on simple mode. You can't beat the devil though if you go to simple mode. And then you play normal mode, and then I believe if you beat normal mode, you can unlock hard mode or whatever. Expert mode, whatever. So yeah, that's the story for that. And then the characters, just Cuphead, Mugman are the main two. I guess you can count the bosses as characters, but I'm not going to go over all of them. And then you have
Mr. Kettle.
I was going to say, yeah, Mr. Kettle for like the tutorial guy. And that's really it. It's not a very story/character centered game. It's mostly a boss rush basically. And then you have the shopkeeper, Pork Patch or whatever, Pork Rind. I forgot his name. Pork Rind. But either way, so yeah, it's not very It's not a very story rich game, but it's not meant to be. So yeah. But moving on to replayability. I'm gonna put this in the middle because once you beat the core game, you're not gonna see too much new stuff. But if you play an expert, I believe there are some new attacks that the enemies have, right? They're faster and they have some new attacks.
They're
yeah.
Faster. They
deal more damage. I'm assuming.
No, they do the same.
I can't believe this. Anyway, but either way, yeah. So you're gonna see some new stuff, but even if you didn't see new stuff, you still have expert mode to play through. And I do believe there's a secret to make the game black and white. So there's some stuff that you would find you're not gonna see in your original playthrough. Yeah, so I'm gonna stick it in the middle. I'm gonna stick it in the middle, and we're not counting the DLC, by the way. We're gonna rate the DLC first of all once we finish that, which we haven't done. And then also we're going to do that as separately, kind of like how we did. I would say Delta and Tetris 2, but we're deleting that entirely. But either way, you get the point. We're gonna do that later. So just in the base game itself, it's still gonna be in the middle section somewhere. Basically, if you haven't been to reviews before, so the first part is liminal, meaning you play the game once, then you're kind of done. You're not going to see any new things after that. And then the middle section, which is like once you beat your first initial playthrough, you have options to go to see new stuff. And then the end is like Minecraft. You're going to see everything. Every time you play the game, you're going to see something new, whether it be the seed, a structure you haven't seen before, like whatever. And also they constantly update the game, so that helps. But moving on to personal takes. So my personal take on this game is when I first saw it, I wasn't initially interested because I'm like, okay, yeah, it looks cool, I guess. I mean, it's not my type of game, really. Because when I first watched the trailer for it, I'm like, oh, this looks like a platformer game that happens to have bosses in it. And I wasn't aware of the whole, like, oh, it's been around, it's like been teased for 5 years thing, because a lot of people had been, but I wasn't aware. So I first found out about it like 10 days before it was ready to launch. But when I saw the trailer, I'm like, okay, that's cool, I guess. And then it started to blow up with YouTubers, and I'm like, okay, this game must be good enough for everyone to play it. But I still never got it. That was the thing. And so only about a year before we started the YouTube channel, I actually looked into it and was like, oh, that's a pretty decent game. and I still didn't get it. And then after like fast forward 6 months, I was looking into YouTube and stuff, and so I was like, well, even if I want to play it, I should save it for YouTube then, because it's also a 2-player game, so maybe Zach Rizzo could join me for it, whatever. And that's what ended up happening. So that's why it was one of the first games on the channel, because I was eagerly waiting to play that game because I haven't played it yet. Now, I had seen stuff from it, but I hadn't actively played it or anything. So yeah, but Zach, we'll go to your first pick.
Yeah. Now, I'd actually played Cuphead before he did, so I knew a lot about the game with it. I will say, Cuphead was definitely one of the most popular games. Like, it was really, really popular after it came out. Like, it was blowing up everywhere. It was getting, like, all the YouTubers' attention. It was getting everything. It was getting the popular game, like, the popular indie game treatment. You know what I mean? But, yeah, this game was really, really cool. That's what I'm going to say about this, because its art style, just the way you play it, I think, feels really nice, and it's just fun, man. I mean, there's a couple bosses that, I don't really like. You can get a little, there's running guns, I'll tell you what. But, the bosses, most of them, really, really fun. And, it's just really good time to play. I mean, I found myself playing it quite a few times, even after completing it 27,000 times.
All right, Isabel.
Yeah, honestly, when the game came out, I don't think I was really like informed of it coming out until it like boosted in popularity from like YouTube or something. But honestly, I didn't play it either. But when I saw some people play it, I was like, the art style of this is really impressive, since I do really enjoy like the concept of Cuphead and the art style of it. So I think it's a very nice game for what they were trying to go for. So.
All right. So moving on to, is it worth it? And I'm going to take the price that's on Steam. I don't know if it's different on console, because I know sometimes Nintendo will charge a little bit more because they needed a cut of it as well. But the base price on Steam is $20, and I think $20 is a solid price for this game. I think they hit the perfect mark for this game, because $30 would have been like, okay, that's still less than an average game nowadays, but it's still like, I don't know, man, because this is one of those games that I can see a lot of people being like, what I had experience where it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that game, because also it's single player, it's co-op, but only with one extra person. But it's also single player, so if you just wanted to do it solo. But the main thing that turned me off was like, oh, it looks like an ordinary boss rush game with just a cartoony style to it. And so I can see a lot of people being like, oh, I'm not totally sure. So if it had been 30, people might have been turned off by it. If it was 10, it's like they're not going to get much money off of that. So I think they hit the perfect mark with 20. And I would say definitely worth it if you want to check it out. If you haven't played Cuphead yet, I would say instead of getting a Big Mac meal that's $20 now, get Cuphead instead. You're gonna have a lot more fun anyway, and your body will thank you as well. So yeah, there's that. And so I think it's pretty worth it. And again, even if it is a little bit more, let's say it's $25 on Nintendo eShop or something, I still think it'd be worth it, because it's like $40 less than an average game is. And I think if this game had been priced at $60, it would have deserved it. But the creators didn't want to charge for that much because they know that $60 is a little outrageous. So yeah, I think it's a perfect thing for this game, and I think it is worth it entirely. So yeah. That leaves us with the final rating out of 10. So I don't know, because it did blow up, so it was sort of revolutionary in that sense. I'm gonna give it a good 8. I think a middle of the road 8 is probably the best thing for this. I can't give it a 9 because I didn't like a lot of the stuff with the running guns. There was, like Zach said earlier, there's a couple bosses that I personally didn't really enjoy. The train one I didn't enjoy that much. That's one I can think of off the top of my head. King Dice, I wish you fought at him more. You really just battled his minions and then one little mini section with him. So I wish that, like that, I didn't mention that earlier for what can be improved, but that's a thing I just thought of now. King Dice was like my favorite character, and so you fought him, you fought his henchman, and then you did one phase of him, and it's like, alright, he's dead now.
And then another thing I also want to mention, the devil himself, the big baddie of the game, once you play him enough times, he's actually really freaking easy.
I mean, once you play anything enough times, it's really easy. That's not exactly that surprising.
Compared to the other ones, at
But either way, there's a lot of bosses that I didn't really, or not a lot. There's a couple bosses I didn't really like. A lot of the running gun. I'm gonna say a lot of the running guns I didn't like. There's like 2 or 3 that I did like. Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a middle of the road 8. I think that's to me that's the best rating I can give it. So we'll move to Zachary though.
Yeah, I was thinking between 9 or 8. But I just couldn't bring myself. I'm not feeling generous today, you know. But I will give it a very, very high 8. That's what I'm gonna be going. Very high 8. If we were to do point values, 8.8.
All right, Isabel.
Yeah, I was thinking like around the ranges of like 7 or 8 or something, but I think I'm gonna give it like probably like around an 8. That's what I would probably give this game.
All right, there you go. So that's going to do it for this review, guys. So just as a capstone for this, if you're wondering, because you might have also noticed that Undertale, Deltarune, and Security Breach also got booted from the reviews as well. We will be returning those. The only one we're not returning to is Deltarune Chapter 2 because it's going to take 20 years probably, but I'm gonna wait till Deltarune 2 at least become half finished before we start reviewing that game. Because Deltarune's not finished yet, and while technically speaking, because the half the sections would be stupid, because like, is it worth it? It's free, of course it's worth it. And also, Toby was nice enough to make Chapter 2 free as well, so Chapter 1 and 2 are both free, and they're completely different. So I think we're gonna wait for that. Security Breach will return to eventually, probably not for a little bit though, because Security Breach was, I mean, it felt like a long time ago, but I don't imagine it was that long. Because for us when we were recording this, we just did the FNAF 4 review, so that's how far we are in terms of the timeline of the channel. So I think we still got a little bit to go there. And then the Undertale, yeah, we're gonna redo Undertale. Undertale is the one I really wanted to redo because that was like an hour and 10 minutes. And again, I don't know about you, but I'm not sitting through an hour and 10-minute video trying to decide if Undertale's good or not, because that's stupid. So yeah, so we're gonna redo Undertale as well, but that's gonna do it for this episode. We do custom outros for this, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.